Season 2, Episode 1. This is Season 2 because it's a different phase in my life where I'm starting to be independent. And it's 83, 84, and I'm living in Ndola. And with my auntie at the hospital. During that time, I'm not quite sure who it was. I had a friend who had said to me, because opposite the Ndola Central Hospital where my auntie used to live and work, was an old people's home. But this old people's home just tended to have white people in it. I remember an old people's home back in Livingston where I was growing up in Maramba. And there was only one white man there. It was for black people. So anyway, this one was just about for white people. And this particular friend of mine had said to me, there was a lady there who can read tea leaves. And so I think I went there with her first and she introduced me. And then the next day I just went and said to the lady, oh, do you remember me? Oh, yes, old white lady. So she said, oh, can you make me some tea? So I made some tea and we sat down and she said, I'm going to read you some tea. And she's looking in the teacup. And she said, I can see you've been missing a relative. She said, your uncle who has been missing for many, many years will be coming back. Now, there's no brainer for that because, as I said before in the previous episodes, my Uncle Willie used to disappear for years on end, and then he would appear again. So, yeah, and as it happened, my Uncle Willie turned up. At the time, he was posing as director of the Bosch company, Bosch, the one that makes tools and stuff. And he was living in a suite in the Savoy Hotel. So that is always, every time he'd been gone, whenever he comes, sorry, something beeped while I'm recording. So every time he'd been gone away, and whenever he comes back with a grand entrance. So he was director or managing director of Bosch, and he was living in a suite, like a penthouse type thing in the Savoy Hotel. And in those years, Savoy Hotels was, the posh, the it type hotels. It's not like nowadays where there's lots of competition. There wasn't much competition and, it was expensive to live like that. So, he did turn up. So another thing that she'd said to me on that particular day was that I was going to meet someone I was going to marry. And they're going to take me away from my country, miles and miles away. But she recommends I don't go. She recommends I don't do it. She said, because all I see is darkness. And this darkness doesn't look good. So don't take the opportunity, she said. But, this is what I see. I see that this person is going to come in your life and you're going to marry them and they're going to take you away from what you know and where you're going. All I see is darkness. So those are the two things that she said to me that I will never, ever forget. Because it seems as if they both came true to some point. So here I was, now living in a house, looking after these 3 kids. And yeah, I knew, to be honest, I didn't have to go I didn't need an NNEB qualification, like nursery nurse, education. I didn't need any of that because I think the routines that my grandmother had instilled in me, worked very well for me. I knew you had to get up in the morning, get the kids ready for school. I knew they needed clean clothes, they need to be presentable and that kind of thing. And they needed breakfast before they go to school. And of course, then I knew that the next routine once they gone to school is to make sure everything is clean around the house and that they've got food when they get back. So everybody was having 3 square meals. I wasn't providing the 3 square meals because, the father was buying everything. but at least I was there to cook it. And if it wasn't there, I would say, oh, we've run out of whatever. So it's something that they weren't used. They would pick and eat whatever was around. And the father had a pressure cooker, so he would come in from work stressed with all sorts of issues, and he would just bang everything in a pressure cooker, and that's what they would eat, and that's what they knew. But my being there, they learned to eat different kinds of foods. They learned to eat stuff, baked things, and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I grew up in the rural where, none of these things were available. But the domestic education I got from my grandmother, sufficed. So I did pretty well, and they were impressed. I was, wow, I think they loved me. Because, I was the first person that looked after them the way that I did. And at the time, because I had said earlier that I had prepared this cottage to the servants' quarters for me to move into, but I didn't move in at all. So that place remained empty. The father didn't allow me to go and live there on my own. So I shared a room with his daughter. But at the back of my mind, you see, it's been what next for my life. And I sort of, I said to him, look, this can't be the end all of it all, because for starters, your kids are going to grow up and they're going to flee their nests, and then what will happen to me? I'll be looking for another job. So I really want to do what I have always wanted to do, and that is to further my education. And I thought to myself, after the issue, the interview business at the postal services, I thought maybe I need to go and do office practice. There was a Pitman's course, secretarial course, where you did office practice, and office practice had you did bookkeeping, you did typing, copy typing, you did some shorthand, you did office practice. That is, learning how things are filed and what's important and that kind of stuff, and what is normally presented in the office and the hierarchy and that kind of thing. So I said I wanted to go and do that. And so he said, yeah, as long as it doesn't clash with your work. I said, no, it's not going to clash. I'm going to make sure of it. So when I went to find out on the open day, I was told that I could, I think it wasn't like first thing in the morning. It was like in the afternoon, for the whole afternoon. So I could go there and do my bit and still come back for the kids. I could see them off to school, go and do. So I did that. I went to Ndola Tech to do my office practice. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I met lots of people there, although I can't remember any of them now. But I remember this Maureen Diaz. I think she was half Portuguese. Her and another girl, they used to socialize a lot, but it wasn't the kind of socializing that I was used to. They went to various clubs. And because I was living in a white man's house and doing that, doing what I was doing, they thought that I was perhaps someone to be their friends who had an understanding or who was open to this kind of life. But I didn't drink alcohol. They did. And I did not entertain women who drank alcohol. I had very much, very extremely negative views of a woman that goes out getting drunk. So at that time, I would never have let alcohol pass my lips, and I would never let anyone in sort of convince me that it was a good thing to do. So they were, but they became my friends. So during the day, we would, say hi to each other and that kind of thing, and meet up. They'll come to my house mainly. I'd never been to their house. And so I was doing that and taking care of the kids. And then one day, I'm not quite sure what had happened, because in between, in all of this, other things were happening. And one of the things is one of the issues where my my disapproval of a certain lifestyle within those kids started was one, their mother was alcoholic, but nobody says alcoholic over there. It's a life, it's a high life that everybody wishes they could have. Two, she didn't care for the kids. She just went and socialized, and she was envied for that. Three, she was a Bemba, and I hadn't come across another tribe doing what she was doing. And historically, my tribe and the Bembas, if there had to be a tribal war, it would be among these two. The reason being, my tribe basically feeds the country. We are farmers. So we till the land, we also keep livestock. So most of the beef in the country was coming from the southern province. Most of the food in the country was coming from the southern province. So we are brought up to learn that farming is a way of life, and certain kind of things a woman is not to be engaging in. A man can go and socialize and have a drink with his mates and chat after he's finished all the man chores. So that is how it was. But here is this woman who wasn't doing that kind of thing. Prioritizing her chores, and she was just busy drinking. So anyway, what I was gonna say is that the southern province, we are providers for this country, for the country. Really, we sustain it food wise. And many years ago, a Bemba man, and Bembas, they're from the north, so we are opposite ends. They are northerners, we are southerners. And so a Bemba from the north was traveling and had come into, on someone's homestead in the southern province. And you see, another thing is, although we do eat meat, we very rarely eat meat because we do not kill our own livestock. We tend to eat vegetables. Like I had said before, we dried up vegetables for the rest of the year. During the rainy season, we did that. We ate fresh ones during the rain season and dried vegetables when it was not the rainy season. So he came in at the homestead, and he noticed all this livestock. There was cattle, there was chicken, there was pigs, there was goats, and people were eating vegetables every day. So he decided, these idiots. Basically, that is the term that Bembas apparently described us Southerners as the idiots, the foolish idiots that will eat grass when they've got so much livestock. And he went and killed one of the cattle and said, "I'm not eating this nonsense." He said, "I want meat." And so he did that without permission. And he was just a visitor. And that was, excuse me, if someone comes in your house and you welcome them, you offer them your food that you're eating, and they decide it was not good enough, they went in your bank, took your money, and went and bought themselves food that you don't normally stock, because, one, you can't afford it, and your money is not for wasting on that kind of thing. So our cattle was our banks. And we didn't just slaughter them. They were our source of wealth. The more cattle you have, the more wealthy you were. So people didn't go to the bank for money. They went to the post office for those who had post office books. But also nobody had so much money in a post office account. They kept their money in there from the National Milling Board when they got paid. But when they actually need money for something, they will sell their cattle or one of their livestock and things like that, just enough to do what they wanted to do, and that's that. The rest stays as they are. And this Bemba man comes and slaughters this cow, and he also did not discriminate as to, okay, which one shall I kill? He probably killed a cow that was pregnant. So that is even worse. So this this angst between the Tongas and the Bembas stemmed from that. I mean, I don't know another story, but that's the story I know, I was told about. And so you can see, it's a bit like a brainwash. It's a bit like what's going on with blacks and whites, and how they feel about each other and that kind of thing. We've been brainwashed from whichever angle someone comes in, and unfortunately that's how it is. But then, of course, as years go by, you grow up, you learn, you realize, oh, actually there's Bembas who are just like me, who have values just like me. So it doesn't mean that every Bemba is a bad person. And you see, unfortunately, the youngsters in the copper belt where most Bembas are, they don't do the tribe justice, because they steal, they do all sorts of hooliganism. It's a ghetto lifestyle, which we don't subscribe to where I come from. It's something we are afraid of. I wouldn't be found in those environments. I wouldn't know how to survive. So anyway, that's one of the things that was happening. And so the mother was getting divorced, or they'd already divorced, I'm not sure. But she used to come in. She wasn't allowed to come into the house. But one day she came in, and she went straight to the bed, to the master's bedroom, and I don't know what she was doing there. And she came out, and I was sitting outside peeling potatoes, and she started, just chatting with me, really. And as she said to me, "Oh, you're such a young girl. I'm sure you could find yourself someone. Are you thinking about? Have you ever thought about getting married and finding someone?" I said, "Oh, yeah, but I haven't gone that far yet. I've got other important things to deal with in my life." So we were just chatting, and so I said, "Oh, why are you not here? Why are you not here looking after the kids?" And she was saying, "Oh, he's a cruel man, and he's violent, and I can't stay. So even now, I'm just going to be here for a bit, and I'll go again, because if he finds me here, it will start off and he will start beating me up." So I said, "Oh, that's not very good." So that was a different perspective, a different angle of it from her point of view. And so she did these things where during the day, on odd occasions, it wasn't on a daily basis, on odd occasions, she would come. And I'll be the one at the house, and she would potter around like the owner of the house would. But I was dealing everything, because I knew what next for the kids, and I was doing that. But what she was doing was her business. But obviously, whatever business she was doing did not please her husband when he came home, because he found certain things were missing or something like that, and he would really be angry about it. I couldn't do anything about it. And he would shout at this man, Fox. Fox was a gardener come, house servant, general. He cleaned the house. But when I moved in to take care of the kids, I didn't allow him to do that. I did it myself. There was just something about him. He didn't have, he looked unkempt. So if someone doesn't take care of themselves, how can I expect them to maintain a certain level of health and hygiene in my environment? So I said to him, "We can do the garden, and I'll do inside the house." So it turns out that the mother had brought this fox. We don't know where she brought him from. But I think he was the one that was keeping an eye on the movements of my employer, if he was around or if he wasn't around, and what was happening, that kind of thing. Then she would turn up, she would come, and and then so that is on the mother's side. Whenever she was coming in, she was obviously taking or stealing something and taking it with her. That didn't please the ex-husband. And then with the kids, the boys were fantastic. I mean, I couldn't say there was any problems or any issues. The youngest, I think he really loved me. And the girl, she a little bit of scatterbrain. I used to call her Madame Butterfly, a bit like one of those, newly hatched butterflies that's not quite yet used to its environment and is fluttering about, knocking into trees. It's beautiful, beautiful and elegant. Obviously, you can see that there's a beauty in her, but there's a bit of, and I don't know how to explain it, disturbance probably in her. And one of the things, the first thing that dawned on me was that I used to take them back to my auntie's flat, when I was visiting my auntie. And this one day, I had gone there. No, that was it. We had water shortages. But I knew that the water back at my auntie's flat was always there. But some parts of the town would have no water. So I took them to my auntie's to give them a bath and wash their clothes and that kind of thing. So they were moving around freely around the flat. And we came back. My auntie wasn't there at the time. She'd gone to America. And so when she came back, she said, no, she was at work. I tell you, like, she had just come back from America and she was at work on that particular day. And when she came back, I think she was arranging to go for a meal with somebody. But she wanted to put these earrings on and she couldn't find them. There they were in the morning when she left, and now they're not there. And so she phoned me. She says, have you been to the house? I said, yes, I have. She says, did you take my earrings? I said, auntie, I don't touch any of your stuff unless you give it to me. Well, she said, I'm missing these earrings. I said, oh, well, I don't know. So I thought, I better ask the kids, just in case they went into the bedroom messing around and someone is just tossed one on one end, not even thinking how important some stuff are. So the boys know, we don't know. And the girl says, no, I don't know. So I said, okay, well, to me, that was the end of that, because I just thought, well, I don't know what happened. Although I had it in the back of my mind that I think someone tried to play with it like it's a piece of toy and left it where they can't remember. So the next day, because we had a swimming pool, I'm out there swimming with the kids. And then there was this stone on the side. And I thought, oh, that's a bit out of place because, we don't normally have stones around the pool like that. So I went to pick it up to go, put it on the side where there was other stones. And there was one of the earrings there. So I picked it up and I said to the girl, I said, I found this. That's one of the earrings that's missing from my auntie's house. I said, do you know where the other one is? Oh, I don't know where I dropped it. So I put it there. I put that one there under the stone for safekeeping, she said. I said, but when I asked you about the earrings yesterday, you said you don't know. So maybe if you had told me yesterday that you didn't know, maybe it would have been that you hadn't lost the other one. So I wondered whether the other one had dropped inside the swimming pool or what. I dived in there trying to look around, but I couldn't find one. So we completely lost it. And I said to my auntie, I said, oh, it was Judy who took your earrings and we could only find one. I'm really sorry. And she said, I bought those earrings in Washington, D.C. It's not something I can replace. I said, I'm really sorry. So that, the start of that kind of behavior was there from the outset. But one of the things I told myself is that I'm only here as a nanny. If something goes wrong, I am not the one to chastise the kids. I'm going to tell their dad. So, I mentioned it to their dad. I said, oh, this is what happened. Oh, okay. And that was the end of that, because my auntie wasn't going to take anything any further. She was just very disappointed that she's lost a good pair of earrings that cost her a lot of money, and she didn't buy it in the country. She bought it abroad. And another time, this is just odd incidents. Otherwise, they were happening on a daily basis. Wherever I went, the girl would steal something from there. But also, what I learned is every time we had gone somewhere and she's stolen something, the next day the mother would be there. The kids did not have any contact with the mother. I think Fox did. I think he had a way of communicating with the girl, what have you got? And I've got such and such, all right. And he would tell the mother, and the mother will come in the next day and take whatever it is. And Judy had these places which she used to call hiding places. It's in my hiding place. It's in my hiding place. And I hadn't put one-on-one to try and get the answers to why she got these little hiding places. Was she hiding? I just dismissed it as, oh, God, kids playing, that's what they do. But most of the time, whenever we'd gone to a friend's house, she would steal something there. Money, mainly. If it's not a piece of jewelry, it's money. So it started bringing a lot of angst between myself and their father. Because sometimes say one day I'd gone to a friend of mine to have our hair done. I said to my friend, can you do her hair? Put in certain plaits, and she looked really nice. And then my friend said, go in my bedroom. There's a big tall mirror and have a look how nice you look. So she went in there, and on the bed, there was £30 and 5p. It was 30 kwacha and 5 ingwe, but it was 1-to-1 in those days. There was the kwacha and the pound was same value. So she went, and on the bed there was this money: a 20, a 10, and a 5 coin. 20 note, 10 note, and a 5 coin. And she took them, and when she came out of the house, the bedroom, because we were all sitting outside in Zambia, we tend to sit outside a lot, and instead of saying, "Oh, I've seen and I look really nice," right? She went in this ditch, and at that particular time, most people were digging ditches in their gardens, big ditches to throw the rubbish in, because the bin men had started to slack. So we had overflowing bins. So people would, and my friend had asked her servant to dig this massive ditch. So she went into this ditch, and we shouted for her, "Where are you?" And she goes, "Oh, I'm in my hiding place." Where is the hiding place? And then she pops up, "I'm here." Right. Eventually it turned out she was trying to find a way of hiding this money, because she just picked it up and she had to try and figure where to put it rather than just hold it in her hand. So when we got home that evening, and I think it was the first time my friend had it dawned on her that this money wasn't on the bed, whether she was going to go to bed or what, I don't know, because it was after dinner time, and we had almost done everything. And so the phone rings, and I pick it up, and it was my friend saying, "Oh, you know what? The only person who is not part of this household that's been in my room is your little girl." And I said, "All right." And she says, "I've got 30 kwacha 5 ingwe missing." So I said, "Oh, I'll ask her." I said to her, "Did you take 30 kwacha 5 ingwe from on the bed from my friend's house?" "No," she said, "I didn't." I said, "No," she said, "she hasn't." So she says, "Well, I'm sorry, but we don't have anyone that steals money in my house, and the only people that